James Dorsey, he's a Middle East analyst at Singapore's S. Rajaratnam School of International Studies. Welcome to you, James. The reports that would have come in just in the last few days, reservists expressing doubts, a significant number. They've seen combat and they're not sure whether they want to decide to go back or not, for a variety of reasons, including the mental health injuries that they are suffering, the physical injuries, and doubts about the political cause that they're involved in. Short term, could it be a problem or not, do you think, for the Israeli army?
Of course it's a problem. I think there's several factors to take into account here. First of all, we're dealing with two traumatized societies. Gazans and Palestinians traumatized by the horror of the Israeli conduct of the war, and an Israeli society that is fighting the longest war in its history. Israel is used to fighting or to measuring wars in terms of days of weeks, not years. On top of that, keep in mind that the Israeli army is a reflection of the Israeli society. That is to say that a majority of Israelis want the war to end, perhaps not because of the horrors that the Gazans are enduring, but because they don't believe that it's going to free the captives held by Hamas, and they don't see what the purpose of further fighting is.
I wonder, it's one of those things that might not be a short-term problem, but down the road it could be a real kind of legacy of this conflict, a bad one for Israel, the mental health impact. Is that what history teaches us, that actually a lot of these soldiers are going to suffer further down the line?
Well, I mean, the mental and psychological impact of what soldiers witness is horrendous. I mean, it's basically as horrendous as what the Gazans are encountering, even if, to be fair, there's a segment of the Israeli military which favors the brutality of the war.
This is no ordinary war, though, is it, James? Because the number of dead children that these soldiers are seeing, now, some of them may have pulled the trigger, some of them may not, but they still see these bodies of dead children.
Absolutely. And a lot is going to depend on how Israel as a society and how Israeli institutions deal with helping soldiers who come back from the fighting readjust, deal with the traumas and the atrocities that they've witnessed, if not committed, and reintegrate. And that's going to be a major part of this. But this is going to leave a legacy, and certainly is going to shape in part how Israel goes, if and how Israel goes to war in future.
You talked about the impact on the Israeli public. Now, I think this is a key thing, because maybe that's the one thing that might put pressure on Netanyahu to do things differently. And I wonder, with the EU considering ending its free trade agreement, our correspondent suggested actually that could be significant, because if you start hurting Israeli businesses, which are already struggling, that could maybe produce a tipping point. What's your opinion?
I think there are two aspects here. One aspect is something that people may not realize, which is Europe, not the United States, is Israel's largest trading partner. That is to say that European investment in Israel doubles that of the United States. European trade with Israel is larger than that of the United States. And Israeli investment in Israel dwarfs Israeli investment in the United States. So European actions to sanction Israel are going to be felt. And you're already having Israeli technology entrepreneurs warning that their businesses are in jeopardy if there are going to be European sanctions, because their startups are funded by the European Union. I think the other side of the coin of your question is with regard to public pressure on Benjamin Netanyahu. I think we need to face it that almost 2 years of war, Netanyahu has ignored public opinion, even though a majority of Israelis want to see an end to the war, and thousands of them are in the streets demanding an end to the war. If anything, we've seen Netanyahu this week double down, in which he basically said that Israel would have to become a Sparta, with an autarkic economy, with other words, an economy that is self-sufficient, even though that may be pie in the sky.
James, appreciate your analysis. My guest, James Dorsey, who's Middle East analyst at the S. Rajaratnam School of International Studies.